we need leaders to be courageous as well. Whether or not we want to call that vulnerable, transparent, it doesn't matter. But when someone says, I'm really struggling because my dog got sick, you can also say, hey, my dog got sick too. You don't want to leave someone out on a limb. And so there's a lot of unlearning, and you said that already. And especially if you've come from a very different kind of agency.
What would happen if we just told the truth?
Welcome to TruthWorks, where we dig into the nitty-gritty of leadership and work.
And what needs to change. I'm Jessica Neal.
And I'm Patty McCord.
Our journey together started in HR, but trust us, it's evolved into something wild, honest, and a bit rebellious.
So throw out the handbook. We're here to redefine rules to work for us, not against us.
Let's dive into another episode. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of TruthWorks. I am your host, Jessica Neal, and today I'm here with a very special guest. I'm so excited to talk to her. I think she's the first Chief Heart Officer ever, and there may be more now because perhaps she set a trend, but I don't know. I think we're going to have a lot in common, me and this guest. She's written a book called Be Yourself at Work. Her name is Claude Silver. She does what I used to do at Netflix, but they call it something else and are rebranding the whole HR thing. So I want to dig into all of that, Claude, but welcome to the show. And we're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Great to be here.
Yeah. So I think in researching you never wanted to be a chief heart officer. You especially never wanted to be a chief human resources officer. And I think you started your career out in like advertising and media and, were publicists and organizations like that. Like this is not what you did. So can you back up and tell us the story of how you actually got here?
Yes, absolutely. So I was at the right place at the right time, which means San Francisco at the first .com boom.
Okay.
So pre-Netflix, obviously, pre-Google, pre-Facebook, pre-all of that. It was 1998. And I was working at a grocery store. I was managing a grocery store in the Castro. And this guy, repeat customer, came in and he said, I think you'd be a great project manager. And I was like, what the heck is that? And next thing I knew, I was like driving down to Palo Alto in my beater Saab. And that was my first foray into this wide world of digital, which I never left. So I started as a project manager. And then I ended up in the agency world after many layoffs because we had a .com bust. In the agency world, they placed me as an account person, as a client partner. Being good with people. I like to educate people, I like to learn, I'm curious about people. And then the greatest thing happened. The chief strategy officer at Organic, this is when I was at Organic, which was an Omnicom company back in the day, said to me, I think you're a strategist. And I said, what? He said, you're a strategist, come with me. And my career then completely shifted into doing what I've always loved, which is I have a fascination with human behavior. I was fascinated with my own, I'm fascinated with other people's, and I really, kind of like see what happens in the workplace in terms of we all get triggered, we all act out, we all shrink, blah, blah, blah. And so one thing led to another, and I ended up having an incredible career as a strategist, a digital strategist, creative strategist at JWT and then at Publicis in London. And then I met Gary Vaynerchuck, who's my boss. We met, we were connected through a great, great friend. And the next thing I knew, I was in New York in May of 2014, and I was the first SVP that he hired, meaning I was the oldest person, really, and I had the most work experience, agency experience, because the average age was 23.
Yeah.
True story. I'll back up, though, and say, while I never wanted to be in the world of HR. That was just like no, I don't feel it. I wanted to be a psychotherapist, actually, is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But it's funny, and I'll get there, with the Chief Heart Officer title, it's the greatest title in showbiz, and it's fantastic. But the work is something I've always done, which is to champion people. And you know that, right? That's what we do. That's what we love. That's why we get into the world of HR coaching or whatever. So a year into me being the first SVP and running our hugest account at the time, I just went to Gary and I said, you know what? I love it here. You're the best. I do not want to work in advertising. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I only care about the people here. I care about the heartbeat of this place. We ended up coming back to Heart months and months later after I found my backfill, and I actually resigned.
Okay.
And then he and I sat
So you
down.
were leaving. You were out the
I
door.
was done with advertising. It's just like getting this into your hands, like it's just not important anymore. But I love the team. I love the teamwork that does this.
Right.
And being in the trenches and trying to win pitches and all of that stuff. And so we sat down at breakfast. He said, great, you're coming back. You're going to be Chief Heart Officer. I knew what that meant in many, many ways. It just, I care about the heartbeat, right? I care about the people here. And I said three things. One, I never wanted to be in HR, right? And he said, well, you're going to learn it and you're going to hire a strong team around you. So, 10 and a half years later, the team is awesome. And they're all pros and they know the science of HR. I said, what are we building here? Because I had been at the company by that time about 16 months. And he said, we're building the single greatest human organization in the history of time. And I was like, all right, well, sign me up, please. And then, of course, I said, how do we know if I'm successful? And he said the following, which is the only job description to this day I still have. You will touch every single human being and infuse the agency with empathy. We were almost 400 people then. We're 2,000 globally now, still an independent agency. And so that's how this all came about. And then, of course, I needed to figure out what was that and how was I going to scale it and blah, blah, and what am I going to do?
Yeah. And what was why was that the mission?
Well, Gary is a very people first operator. He's for anyone that follows Gary V on social, he's very much about practical optimism, I would say, and really the belief in humans, he really wants them to believe in themselves. And he and I have aligned before I even accepted the job on our belief in people and possibility. We're both optimists. And he saw that was already something I had equity in within the workplace and already had that as a strength, which was wonderful that he saw that. I was, really interested in bringing a lot of care, compassion, courage to the workplace, bravery, all of that stuff. And so what the job was and what the job continues to be is to scale him and to scale empathy. And that's why, because he needed someone we were too big and now we're way too big.
Yeah. Well, what does that look like in practice? Like, how do you scale empathy? Like, what does that mean? If I'm an employee of your all's, what do I feel through that?
Well, it depends on where you are. If we're just meeting and you started 6 months ago, I'm really going to find a way to ask you how it's going without saying like, so what's going on? Anything bad? I might play Rosebud Thorn with you. I might just say, if you and I, Jessica, had a magic wand, what would we change here? Right? And you might say, it's the best culture ever. I don't really know. And so that might happen if I'm reaching out to you because I've seen smoke in the horizon or someone tells me like, I should probably check in with Jessica and everyone in that kind of group. Then I'm going to be asking you different questions. Every question and everything we talk about will have some kind of coaching embedded into it. My job is to leave you feeling great about you, with the exception of if I know that you are headed for a performance plan or you're on one, I'm certainly not going to blow sunshine. I'm going to say, listen, I understand that X, Y, and Z is a real vulnerability of yours. And so how can I help you? I know that you've got this plan. I know you're doing check-ins. Are you doing check-ins with your manager? All of that stuff. So I think in my one-on-ones, I get a lot. In my group chats, I obviously get so many data points and patterns, but also early on, I had to figure out how to do this. And so what I did was I found other like-minded people, similar DNA, had a heart to help, cared about people. And they are all called culture champions. They are all over our offices now. Most of them have stayed. We have a lot of longevity in the company. And I know that if I wake up and I see a Slack from someone in Amsterdam saying, so-and-so is suffering, their dad is in the hospital, I know exactly who to slack back and say, hey, would you mind taking David out for a coffee today? He's having a tough time. I'm not going to say he's having
Yeah.
So I can do that anywhere. The culture champions are fantastic. They're wonderful. And then I had to create an HR group, right? They're called the People and Experience Team. And the business partners are really modeled after the heart, modeled after creating psychological safety. They all have been trained in knowing how to create and hold space for someone to try to move their bias to the back seat and to help find solutions. So we're all kind of modeled in a very similar way. Obviously, they have their own gifts and personalities. And so that's really how we've done it. And then leaning on leadership in these past 3 years to take accountability and to really be adults and lead in the way that I would like them to, that Gary would like them to, and the way that, to really leave a map for people, to make sure that everyone knows that as leaders, we work for them.
Yeah. Now, I think most organizations don't really talk about heart.
No.
In fact, they would like to not talk about heart. And, perhaps, and this, maybe the organizations come off more control versus context. But what do you think you gain as an organization when you lead with heart versus the opposite?
The truth. I think you gain real ROI when it comes to making someone not only see that they're valued and that they belong, but that they matter. They're worth something here. I think that's an enormous, enormous piece of it. So, heart, human, it's very interchangeable to me. Love, I don't say that a lot because I know there's an aversion to that. And people are like, well, we don't want intimate love. And it's like, okay, I'm not talking about
That's not what I mean. Yeah.
I'm talking about just being a human and having, using the foundations that we learned as children, kindness, compassion, how to share our toys. We learned all of these things. We really did. And then we forget them somewhere and we think that IQ is the most important thing. And then you realize, oh, wow, work is really about connection. Work is really about building relationships and seeing how you all can grow together, how you can innovate something together, because she comes with this type of mind and you come with this type of mind. It's all about connection. But we think somewhere that work should be, you go to work, you really don't have a good time, you certainly don't have any friends, it's top-down leadership, and then you can go have your life afterwards, which is what Gen Xer like me grew up as.
Right, same, yeah. Work hard, put your head down.
I mean, Jessica,
say?
like, if I could get a dentist appointment on a Saturday, thank you, because there's no way I was saying, I'm leaving at 3 to go to a dentist.
No, you never did that. No, you never did that. I know. Well, I didn't even take vacation.
Right. You'd lose. So you would. What was that policy? You would accrue it.
Right. Yeah.
You would get it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I never took it. I mean, I never took a day off, but I got paid. For maybe. Yeah. And it was a different way of working.
Okay.
But I think that one of the things that I learned over time as a leader, and it sounds like you've learned the same things, but when you lead with empathy, when you lead with heart, when you are authentic and you can be vulnerable with the team, the trust goes through the roof, the connection goes through the roof. The honesty and ability to be honest about whether it's just feedback for the team, feedback for you, things that are going on with themselves, that goes through the roof. And then that unlocks productivity, I think.
A hell of a lot of it. And the one thing that you said but didn't say is accountability.
Yes, true.
We want to be accountable. I really truly believe that at our best, we want agency for ourselves. And we also want to say, you know what? I messed up. This is what I'm going to do. And then guess what? It's done. There's no drama to it.
Right.
That's the honesty that you were talking about.
Yeah. And I think, when I look at other organizations, and one of the things that I tried to do is that even when things to your point, weren't perfect, right? Maybe there's a performance issue. Maybe we're working through some things. You can still have a heart through those things. And I can't think of a time when I let somebody go where they didn't give me a hug.
Yes. Or thank you, right?
Right. Yeah. Like I can't, there could have been, but because there's a lot of them that have happened. But we always left the conversation with a hug. And I think organizations make saying goodbye so horrible, and shameful for the person.
Yes. Yes. Do you remember, I don't know if this happens anymore, but like I can clearly remember getting the boxes together for people when we were going to do a layoff, and like they would leave in that box.
Right.
Oh,
I know. Terrible. Like, and I don't know, maybe like you have to be mad at them to be able to do it. And, because nobody likes to do it. Right. It's terrible for everyone. Yeah. But if you do it with like grace and care and humanity, it's okay.
It's a conversation then. And hopefully it's not a surprise. That's what we want to mitigate. And that is it's not a perfect science as much as you and I would like to think it is. It's not. But I think that the conversations that lead up to that are where the real connection and transparency can shine, which is literally like, this isn't working. These are things that we can put in place. Obviously, the person needs to do the work.
Right, of course.
You need to show up and do the work. And to your point, there is nothing that isn't an ROI that's not going to go through the roof when you're clear. When you're clear, have clarity, transparent as much as you can be, right? And also offer a little bit of vulnerability. Oh, yes. Like one of the things I say to our residents every 3 months when they start immediately, and these are all basically we have an internship rather than we have a residency. And I just say, as I'm talking, by the way, if there's any other dyslexics like me, you can come talk to me. Let's just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
So then their manager doesn't come up to us later on and say, so-and-so really misses words when they're writing and Grammarly or chat isn't helping them. And it's like, okay, well, let's go back a little bit there.
Right. Yeah. I love that. Well, let's talk. Okay. So I kind of understood my mission at Netflix. If I could get my leaders really good at being better humans, that they would be better leaders. And so, again, you lead how you were taught to lead, right? And you grew up how we grew up. You're kind of raised by wolves. You probably lead that way, right? But I realized I had to deprogram, not, unteach a lot of leadership ways of working that were not going to scale at Netflix. Mm-hmm. And so we spent a lot of time thinking about that, and we built a whole seminar around it. But do you do a lot of that at your firm? And what do you guys do?
Yeah. So
how do you teach this?
Yeah. I mean, Netflix has written the book. Let's just say that you've written the book, and I think we all want to emulate a lot of what you've put out there, which is thank you. That's the first
thing.
You're
welcome. Thank you.
In terms of not being afraid to get real. That's what I would, and certainly not creating any kind of entitlement or coddling, which is very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And very difficult to do with Generation Z, of course, because they are kind of looking for that, unconsciously or not. So we do a lot of leadership offsites, and we bring in outside trainers. Okay. And so this last one we did strength finders, and then they all had 3 coaching sessions with outside coaches, which I thought was very, very effective. And then the strength finders, through the strength finders, they brought the pod leaders together. So we have pods. So whether or not you're the head of PM, head of client, head of creative, you're all together, then discussing the strengths. And when she does that, it doesn't mean she's dismissing me. She's just taking a moment to think.
Right.
So I feel like in I would say in the last 2 years especially, we've up-leveled our leadership training and development, I would say from VPs up, because it's so essential to get a common language.
Yeah.
and a common denominator. I would say that if you're at Vayner and this is not your first or second job, you pretty much subscribe to the values we have, or else you'd go someplace else, right? And so it's very value-based leadership if you think about it. It's put into ways of, these are human beings. They have a lot going on in their lives also before they walk into a workplace. Some of them are going to need to be met this way. Some of them are going to need to be met this way. What are you not only capable of doing, where can you push yourself, right? Because we need leaders to be courageous as well. Whether or not we want to call that vulnerable, transparent, it doesn't matter. But when someone says, I'm really struggling because my dog got sick, you can also say, hey, my dog got sick too, or whatever. I mean, you don't want to leave someone out on a limb.
No, I know.
Right?
I know.
And so there's a lot of unlearning, and you said that already. And especially if you've come from a very different kind of agency, maybe a holding co, which is completely different than an independently owned agency, and one that Gary Vaynerchuck runs and owns. So we do a lot of that. We do a lot, I would say, not only, emotional intelligence, we speak about that, but the one thing I've brought in, I would say in the last only 3 months, is this concept of emotional fluency, which is being fluent in the way that emotions speak in human. Right? And that's really being able to empathize, not just say, empathy is a part of, emotional intelligence. Empathy is on kind, compassionate, gratitude. But how do you bring that to life in your language or in your actions, the way you show up? So, for example, when you walk into a room like this, hey, what's up, everyone? Hope everyone had a good weekend. Do you really think I care if anyone had a good weekend? No, I just know I have to be performative.
Right.
And so talking to these leaders about, okay, this is how you show up. How do you know you're showing up that way? Yeah. How do you know? Have you gotten the right on, or have you gotten the where are your reviews? What are people saying about the way you show up or concentrate? Are you always on your phone? So we've been very, I would say, very, very honest about where everyone is, rather than grouping leaders into a group and just assuming, like we were, you got it. You got it.
You got to go figure it out. Yeah. No, I mean, I very much, and we subscribe to this at Netflix for sure, but each leader is different and their capabilities are different, and they need that coaching and that mirror, and they need the feedback, right? On how they're showing up and what they're doing. And, it's not that we want them to be perfect, because nobody is, you can't be, but majority of the time you got to be pretty good.
You got to be pretty darn good, and you're looking, you're looking over large sums of money or huge groups of people that are, and it's the real world. It's not, monopoly.
Yeah.
And so the expectations are enormous, and we have core competencies. I'm sure that you did as well. Our foundational core competencies for everyone: growth mindset, communication, leadership, and accountability. Based on where you are, I'm a junior copywriter or I'm a C-suite, they vary. And so by the time you are a VP or you are a C-suite, we expect you to know how to be the bigger person in any situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that means, pointing thumbs, not fingers.
Yeah. No, I very much dislike when very senior leaders are like, it's the team, not me. And you're like, and I learned very early in my career, you have to look at you first.
Thank you.
And what you failed to do in terms of setting context or what have you, before you start pointing fingers at your team. And my founder of Reed, he's the one that taught me that. And, it was one of those things that's it shaped how I lead. It's how I approach it. But I was talking to a founder the other day, and they were like, it's the team, it's this. I was like, oh my goodness.
Like
it's actually you.
And if you saw that and owned it, we can move on.
Right.
But because you're not seeing it and owning it, we're going to be in this little purgatory for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, God, it just, to be clear, it just creates so much more efficiency if we could own it and get rid of the drama and teach other people too as well, so that there isn't like, okay, so you messed up. I mess up 20 times a day. I'm sure I do, right?
Yeah.
Or 20 times a week. But if I know I messed up, I am without a doubt going to be like, that's on me.
Right.
That is completely on me. I'm so sorry I led you down the wrong path. Let's come back. Okay, let's go then. There's
And
nothing
then
else
you're
to
done.
say.
Yeah, then you're done. Right. I know. Drama free
Thank
is
you.
how I like things. Okay, well, let's talk about the book a little bit because I see it behind you.
It is there. It's there.
Be yourself at work.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did that come about? How'd you decide to write this book?
Yeah, I decided to write it about 10 years ago. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
And then I didn't start until COVID.
Okay.
For my own limiting beliefs and my own imposter syndrome, and like, do I have anything ready? I mean, you read Powerful and you're like, is there anything else to say? Right? But really what the impetus is I was very tired of watching people shrink in the workplace. And I myself had done that in my earlier years. And so I was watching mirrors of myself, reflections of a younger Claude. And it was, not only did it upset me, it broke my heart. It really did, because when they say, well, what would you tell your younger self? Well, I would tell her to be big in the room and take up space. And so watching people, men and women, move from, oh, I love it here, to cynicism because their work never gets to see the day of light or anything like that. And so that's when I started to think about, okay, what was the journey I had to go on? And that started with self-awareness and really understanding, which is by the way, a lifelong journey, but understanding at least enough of how I operate, what some of my triggers are. Yeah, when I get interrupted 5 times in a row, I'm going to get upset.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, right? I'm going to try to regulate myself because I'm a big girl, but the person that doesn't know about that is going to lash out, or they're going to shrink, and then they're going to go gossip, and then have another meeting about the gossip.
Right.
And then we've lost
I hate the gossip meeting about the gossip meeting.
Right. And so I start the book out by really, the book is framed in 3 different parts. The first part is you. And really understanding, what is the cost to you every day when you hide, when you put on a shield or a mask or an armor, and feel that backpack, because it gets heavy. And so that's the first entry into it. And then it's a self-awareness journey. What would it look like if you, and doing a lot of kind of rephrasing, reprogramming, talking about the imposter syndrome, and coming up with this little exercise I came up with. There are a lot of practical, really easy to do things. It's called
give us one. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the lie exercise, which I call how to tackle the imposter syndrome. So what is the lie that you're telling yourself all day long? Well, you got to sit still for a second, because we're all doing it, right?
Right.
So mine for a very long time was, I am dumb, right? I am dumb, dyslexic, failed at SATs, sucked at college. I am dumb. I am dumb. I am dumb. Okay. So now I want to go, okay, Claude, is that true? Show me the evidence that you're dumb. So it's evidence. Okay, well, I worked for Gary Vaynerchuck for the last 12 years. Okay, I'm not dumb there. Chief Heart Officer, I'm leading it. No, I'm not dumb there. Okay, and people seem to enjoy what I write. Okay, I'm not dumb. There is no evidence that Claude is dumb. If that is true, there's no evidence. Then what is Claude? I learn in a different way. I'm a different kind of leader. I learn by doing. I'm experiential. Find whatever it is, and I give a lot of examples of what the real truth is that you can then reprogram. And let me tell you what, I tell people, I have sticky notes all over this wall. I need to see them visual. I need to see things to remind me. Then I say to someone, okay, so what is it? You're a storyteller that loves to teach people through experiential work. Whatever it is, it has to light you up. Then I say, write it on your laptop, write it here, keep it in your wallet, because we know that negative slogan, that negative line is going to creepy crawly up there. I don't know why. I don't know why it happened.
No,
But
our brains are very mean to us.
yeah. And so whatever it is you find, I need you to find evidence that that is true. Are you a storyteller? Yes, I'm a creative director. And okay, great. Do you like to, it says you teach. Yes, I've always had a team of 30. Great. Okay, so there's evidence that you are a great storyteller and you love to lead teams. Fantastic. Plug that in.
Right.
So that's the lie exercise.
I like that. I'm going to use that
Use
because,
it.
yeah, your brain, is constantly sabotaging you
The
and
negativity.
gaslighting you.
On repeat, though, on repeat. You'd think we'd get something else to say, but I was like, I am dumb, I am dumb, I am dumb, which is so mean to say.
Yeah, and you're quite the opposite.
Thank you.
Is what I'm experiencing.
I was about 35. I really was like, I'm missing a chip, right? Because you compare and all of that. Thank God we didn't have social back then, Jessica, because
God, I know.
a number on myself. So that's one of the many just fun, easy exercises to do. And then the book goes into team. Now, who are you on a team? You have self-awareness. You're building that. How do you deal with conflict? How do you build resilience on a team? So forth and so on. And what does it mean to be a citizen on a team? And then the book goes into, now you're a leader and you're really co-cultivating the culture here.
Right.
And then there's, some great case stories. I call them, there's stories of my past, some about me, some of what I witnessed. And then, I would say a lot of truth in terms of my own journey.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, tell us about your journey. I mean, I want to know more. Like,
okay.
What was the hardest lesson? And did it come out in the book?
Yeah, there's a lot of hard lessons. I was a great self-sabotager as an adolescent and early 20s. It really was. I think because I was such a poor student and didn't have confidence, it was, you kind of just
that's hard.
Go with the herd in a way.
Yeah. Right.
You'll find trouble. And so the book really starts out with my first kind of life-changing adventure at 19 when I left college after my second year, going nowhere fast, bad boys, bad drugs, bad decisions. And I found the longest outward bound course I could possibly find, which was a 93-day wilderness leadership program.
Mm-hmm. I had many friends that did outward bound. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
93 days. And I'm telling you now, I was not in shape. And that first day, the book starts out with the story. The first day, I'm with 9 young men. I'm 19. We're all carrying 80 pounds on our back. I'm 5'3" on a very, very good day. We're in the Colorado Rockies and we have to climb 1,000 feet. There's no tents. There's no toilet paper. No showers.
No.
Any of that. And the guys go all, they're strong and they go up the mountain and I'm struggling and crying and I'm begging whomever that I twist my ankle and I have to leave and I have to go home to what's more comfortable to me, which is sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
Crying and crying. The instructor comes all the way down. I had a female instructor and she looks at me about 1.5 feet away. I'm crying and she goes, "What is going on in your head?" And I looked at her and I said, "Well, I'm singing that 9 Inch Nails song, head like a hole, black as your soul. I'd rather die than give you control." And she says, "You better get another song in your head." And she walks away.
Yeah, that's a terrible song.
Terrible song. Well, this is 1991. There was no Pharrell's Happy or anything.
Yeah, no, there's none of that. Yeah.
She asked me a question. I told her the honest truth. And 93 days later, I came out a very changed, much more confident person, really understanding what servant leadership was all about, understanding that that's what I wanted to do. I don't call it servant leadership. Understanding what emotional intelligence was. We spent a lot of time there. And really, I came out thinking I wanted to be an EMT. But I get real queasy. So
I couldn't, God bless them, I couldn't do it.
Right?
Yeah.
Thank God for them. So that's really, that was at 19. And then I found my way to San Francisco and really did, most of my 20s were just the school of life. And I finally ended up graduating at 28 from a great place called California Institute of Integral Studies, CIIS. And then once, in those days you needed that college education.
Yeah.
And once I had that diploma, I was off and running. Yeah. I didn't realize you needed that frickin' piece of paper.
It's becoming less important, but back then you had to have it.
I removed the need when I started the people and experience team, becoming chief heart officer, I immediately removed the need for the college education. And I changed the way that we were hiring and made sure everyone understood from culture fit to skill set fit and culture addition, which we still use today.
Yeah. Well, talk about that for a second, because I think people get confused, and I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm generalizing, but I think a lot of companies do surface level interviewing.
It's easy.
And
fast.
It's easy. Yeah. And fast. But oftentimes you get the wrong person.
Yeah, because I like surfing and you like surfing. So cool. You're hired.
Yeah.
You seem cool, Jessica.
Yeah.
And bye.
Yeah. Did you have like a surf school or something that I read?
Yeah.
Okay.
So after, and then I'll go back to skills, but after the dot-com bust, right after 9/11, I was at a startup in San Francisco, and we had all gotten laid off. And my friend and I started an outdoor adventure company. Surfing basically like 275 days a year. I would just, hold people in the water.
Like, were you doing this in San Francisco?
Pacifica and Santa Cruz.
Okay.
Yeah.
So cold.
Oh my God, I had the killer tan, neck up, wrist down, killer tan. But I love being that player, coach, cheerleader. And so for me,
That's great. Yeah.
paddle, paddle, paddle. Okay, get up.
Yeah.
That was awesome. But back to skill set fit and culture addition. I think culture fit gets you speed very, very quickly. So I can understand startups, their first 10, 15 people, we all come from, UCLA. I don't know, something like that. There's a similarity. It's apples, apples, apples. But then you really need to diversify your floor. You really need to get people that know what they're doing and happen to be interesting people. Curious people. They come from different places. They speak different things. They pray to different people. Whatever it is, you need to build this culture of inclusivity, not only because it's the right thing to do, it's going to add so much more innovation, productivity, creativity, process to what you're building. And also, let's be honest, it's the macrocosm. It's like, hello. And so when I started at Vayner, they had already been 5 years old, and there was a lot of Apple, and everyone loved the Jets. And everyone was from New Jersey or New York. And everyone was Gary's friend of a friend of a friend. And then I thought, you know what? If we're going to grow here and we're going to build a floor that is where people are going to want to stay forever, build the greatest human organization in the history of time, well, we better get humans in here.
Right.
And so changing that and now focusing on, can you do the job? Not like, bye-bye. Good luck, but do you know the back end of Reddit? Do you know how to code? Do you know whatever the job is?
Right.
And you're a good person. You seem to, when we interviewed you, you seemed to talk about the we, not the I, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think it's an important thing to call out, because on the human part, of course, you're interviewing for the skill, right? Can you do the job? Can you code? Can you do this? Can you do that? But on the attributes that are actually going to scale in your organization, most people rely on what you just said. Like, you like to surf? I like to surf. That's so cool. Let's go surfing. You're hired, right? Right. But that doesn't mean that they're going to be a great culture fit for your organization. And when you get it wrong, it's really terrible. And so you've got to dig, you got to be a detective, you got to get curious, and you got to ask questions that are going to bring you insights into how they actually are at work.
Exactly.
Right? Yes.
Exactly. Listen, if you want to dress up as a clown on Saturdays, that's fantastic. Let us know that. Prefer that you didn't wear the clown suit here, but I don't mind that you're a comedian and you do stand up. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Yeah.
So this all goes back to being human rather than being transactional, and rather than, just doing what is the easy route?
Yeah.
The easy route is like, you love Pearl Jam. You saw them at Red Rocks. I did too. Cool.
Yeah.
And that's what we do to managers. This is what we do. Jessica, congratulations. You just got promoted to a manager. I'm so happy you got a promotion and you get a $10,000 raise. See ya.
See ya. Yeah. No, I know.
There's 3 of my friends. I have no idea what I'm doing. I guess I'm going to what?
Right.
How are you going to run a one-on-one? How are you going to know what these people need to grow?
Why do companies not help these people? I don't understand.
It's just poor. It's lazy. It's this messy middle. Then we have this problem. We all have this problem right now, the messy middle, which is they've been abandoned children, quite frankly, and it sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks when I even see that on the floor, and I'm like, that's on me.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, that's on Claude. And that's just like, it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. So investing in your people in the way that they need to be invested in. I'm not talking about the foosball and all that, because we know that doesn't build culture.
Who cares?
No one. They can play foosball whenever, but not at work.
Yeah, no, they need tools to help them work more effectively. And you cannot promote people and say, okay, now go hire a team. Okay, fire people, have a one-on-one, inspire somebody, develop somebody. Like, they don't know how to do any of those things.
Not only that, they might not even be inspired themselves. They're just stoked they got $10,000.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the other thing. We need to change the way to excel in your career. The only way to excel should not be through management. There has to be a different way. Like you know what I mean? And all these people, even though they don't want to manage people and they're never going to be good at it, they take these jobs anyways because that's how you grow.
And listen, you know this as well as I do. A lot of creatives want to be independent, ICs.
Right.
They don't want to manage anyone. And yet we're like, great, you're an ACD. Now you're a creative director. Great, you've got 13 people and you're working on a Kraft Heinz piece of business. Okay. But we don't do them the right service of breaking it down for them and breaking it down consistently. It's not just one training, and it's certainly not classroom style training. That's not what's going on anymore. You and I don't do that even anymore. No. Right? It's quick hits. It's real, like
quick hits
scenarios. Yeah, quick hits. They're watching a TikTok for less than 8 seconds. I mean,
yeah. But I think like that's the other thing is like, you have to have a coaching infrastructure.
Absolutely.
You can't send them to management 101. It's not going to work ever. You've got to have coaches in the organization that teach them how to do it, because they're going to run into stuff. Oh gosh, what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. And like, how about, and we have to do this with our HRBPs too, because, when do they know, especially the younger ones, when do they know to escalate?
Right.
They think, okay, I can handle this. I think that's harassment. I can probably handle it. And you're like, you find out about it. You're like, what?
No.
This happened 3 weeks ago? Man. And it's not, we just haven't done a good enough job.
Yeah, no, man. You kind of are making me miss the job a little bit. Just a little bit, not a lot. Hey, I saw a video of you and you were talking about how not lonely this role is.
Yes.
And I found that interesting because I found it quite lonely, to be honest with you. And I wasn't lonely from the perspective of I had plenty of people on my team and in the company that I was hanging out with daily. I still have my family and friends and all of those things. But there is, well, at least for me, there was a big weight upon me that I think other folks that were my peers didn't have, or people on my team that didn't have, because I had to carry a lot of stuff for the company. And then there were things that I just couldn't share.
Yeah.
There wasn't anybody, and there was also nobody I could talk to about it.
I think that's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key. So I've got 2 incredible EVPs that I can tell anything to, thank God, because otherwise it would be lonely. And I think also because of my relationship with Gary and my relationship, I've been there almost 12 years, so it's different. But I want to say, I remember that video, and there are absolute days and weeks that are lonely. There are hours that are lonely for me. And I think some of that is because I was so used to being in the front of the house, and that's where all the action is. I love being where I am, but sometimes I miss that. And that's a Claude thing. That's a Claude ego thing. But when it comes to talking about the issues, thankfully I have 2 people that I can rely on today, and we're off. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah. That's good. And I had that a little bit, but I mean,
Yeah.
not 100%. But I think what I had a hard time adjusting to was, now I have to kind of be this figurehead. And that was lonely for me because that wasn't the work that I liked to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why I say to people, like, I'm dyslexic. That's why you can read, we got the book for everyone and they can all read about it now.
Right.
Because when I was meeting people, whether or not it was in the workplace or after a keynote or wherever on LinkedIn, I want to be just like you. No. No, you want to be like you. You don't want to be just like me. Go be you because you're awesome. Go develop that. I've got my own bag of tricks over here that I deal with every day.
Don't we have bags of tricks, girl? I'm telling you. We are running out of time, which I'm super sad about because this has been so fun. So we're going to do two things.
Okay.
I always ask for my guest to leave the listeners with some advice, some inspiration. Like, what do you want them to be thinking about after they listen to this? And then after you do that, we'll go into career confession.
Okay, great. I want them to be thinking about two things, which is one, how they show up every day. And how do they know that? So literally, and if they're finding that they show up probably in a cynical way, maybe you need to take a time out, and that's cool too. And I also want everyone to open up their phones and text 3 people that they haven't spoken to in a while and just be like, hey, Happy New Year, I'm thinking of you. Hey, I thought about you today. Hey, hope you're well, let's go get a coffee. 3 randos.
3 randos. I love that. You gave me just goosebumps just now because I was like, oh yeah, I should do, I'm going to do that after we get off of here. I'm going to text 3 randos that I haven't talked to in a while.
Yeah, missing you, whatever. That's what I would do.
I love that. And I love you, Claude. You're amazing. Okay, so now we're going to do career confession. Okay, and so here's a little context for the question. So this person says, I used to treat culture and emotions as secondary to execution until I saw the hidden emotional climate dictates whether execution is sustainable or silently self-destructing. Okay. Here's the question. What are the first concrete behaviors you notice when that safety starts to disappear, even through performance still looks strong on the surface?
Cynicism, politicking.
Yes.
Just clamoring for that. Blah, 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 blah. Like, I talked to him at midnight. Well, I talked to him at 3 a.m. Well, okay. That kind of stuff, which is really so gross.
It's so gross.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. That's when you know.
You're like, okay, there's something else going on here that either I'm not privy to or I'm oblivious to. And that creates a real divide. And it's ugly.
How do you squash it?
Well, I think depending on you and your comfortability, I think it's something that you need to address. Now, if you can't address it with the person, because that's a big leap, and you can't address it with that person's boss, because that's also a big leap, I would absolutely suggest you going to someone else within, maybe someone else that person works with the next time you see it, and just saying, listen, I'm having a hard time watching that. Do you have any advice for me? I don't think it's an HR problem. I think there's a coachable solution there. Ultimately, what we would want is for you to feel comfortable just saying to that person, like, I noticed this about you, and you don't need to do it. You need to do this, or I noticed this about you, and this is what I've made it mean about me.
Yeah.
And then you're owning it.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. And sometimes folks don't have the courage to do that. But I do agree. If you can go to the person, it's so much better. And I have found my data's, I've done this a lot, so my data's pretty good. 99% of the time, it's great. It goes so well. It's received way better than your little sabotaging brains make us think it's going to be like a knockout, drag out fight.
Yeah, right.
Right. And the person is appreciative.
Yes, of course, because I don't think people have poor intent. They have no idea of the impact.
Yeah.
we as humans rarely think about the impact. And we have to start turning those lights on, especially if we are in leadership positions.
Especially. And I always preach to my team and the company, like, if you care about each other, just tell each other the truth.
Yes, it's connection.
Yes, if you care, tell the truth.
Yeah.
It's caring. It's not mean.
No, not
It's
at
caring.
all. Yeah.
Not at all. Well, listen, you have made my day.
Made my day. This is the best talk. Thank you.
Yeah,
I feel like,
thank
like literally, when you're really talking to a peer and you're like, yeah, oh, you know exactly what I'm
I
talking about.
get you. I see you.
That's such a nice feeling.
It is a nice feeling. And listen, I want to be friends forever. So can we make that?
Can we?
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, it's done. I'm going to get the necklace.
Yeah, get the necklace and I'm going to write you and then we can do pen pals. But no, I'm serious.
I'm serious too. And thank you so much. And everybody, go get Claude's book, Be Yourself at Work. And Claude, if people want to find out more about you, where can they find you?
Just go to my website, claudesilver.com, or I'm pretty much there on LinkedIn too.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you again. And we're going to have you back.
Thanks for listening to Truth Works.